Alright folks, back for part 3. Keep flip-flopping the camera, so I'm looking at the opposite direction. But got the chassis together, got the diffs on, the diff housings, got the upper arms on, shaft is in place. Shaft's got a little bit of play to it, and I'm hoping that's just because everything's not all connected. Again, this is my first build, so we'll see how that goes. Next step is the motor mount. And you're going to need D9. Now just make sure in your directions you see exactly which way. It actually does matter. It has these two slits in the corner, if you can see, right there. And there's one over there. That goes away from the motor. And it also says you need the motor plate, which is MA9. I was having a little trouble finding that in all these packages and parts. So MA9, I'm thinking, is this here motor plate. I mean, that's the only thing I can see. It's just a piece of cardboard. That's it. It's almost like a cardboard washer. And if I'm wrong, please in the comments shout it out. Or if I do find the right part along the way, I mean, it does fit exactly, has the actual screw holes. So I'm gonna rock with it, but again, it could be incorrect. Just check your parts. I don't see anything else. I don't see like a metal motor plate or a plastic one. So I'm gonna rock with it. But I do not see one in anything else. In the trash box. Yeah, I see everything, but I don't see that. So I'm gonna rock with it. You also will need the MA4 screws, 3x8. You can see they're more so machine screws. I don't know if you can see that, but they're not those self tappers we've been using. It's more of a machine screw. There's 2 of them, and go by the numbers on this motor mount. In between 21 and 22 you want the first screw, and at the bottom here, right in this one, is where you want the second screw. So they're kind of diagonal from each other. You can see that. One here, one down here. So see, that's better. They're diagonal from each other. Make sure you pop this piece of rubber off here, off the motor, the shaft. Also, in my last video, when you put that differential in, before you put that top housing on, make sure you grease that gear. I don't know if I showed that. I showed it on the first one. Make sure you grease that second gear. Now these, obviously, I took these out just to make sure I did grease that gear. But once you put these screws in the first time and you make those threads in the plastic, they come out and go in much easier. The first time you actually are threading that plastic, so I believe that's why it's so tough to get those started and get those ran in for the first time. So anyway, got that screwed on. There's the motor. She's all good to go. All right, next step. That was attaching the motor mount. This is attaching the motor. You're going to need a bunch of parts. Those MA2, those 3x10mm screws, you're going to need 8 of those. Which almost eats all of those up. A few more left, and those 15s are still there. But you're also going to need the pinion gear. They give you looks like an aluminum one, and you're going to need the set screw, which may be a good idea to Loctite. I'm not going to do it now, but I hope that don't bite me in the you know what for not doing it right now. But I want to make sure once I get it all together, get my receiver hooked up, get her driving, that everything is soundly in place before I do that. So like the set screw, you're going to need that hex wrench, little tiny guy here. And looks like you are gonna attach the pinion with that bigger side facing away from the motor, and that set screw is going to go right at. You can see the flat part of that shaft coming out of the motor, and that's where that set screw is going to want to sit. So you may want to run that set screw in there, in that pinion gear, you know, at least a half a turn or a turn, just so you don't strip it. Be really careful not to strip it. What I like to do is put it on the Allen key, and like I said, just maybe 1 or 2 turns. So it's not, actually you can go a little further, so it's not coming through and stopping it. Through that little hole there you can see, but just so it's on there soundly. And look for that flat part of the shaft. Now it looks like you can adjust how far this is coming out, and I'm gonna assume once you actually get everything completely hooked up, you'll be able to adjust it a little bit if it's out too far, or if it's back too far this way, or if it's sticking out too much, you'll be able to adjust it. But connect that. And then here it says bend the terminals as shown. Looks like you're bending them inward. So almost, you would see that. See how that one is? I just bent this one. Almost like on an angle. You want to bend it. Just ever so slightly. Just don't kill it. You don't want to snap it off, but for whatever reason, we'll find out. They want you to bend them. now you'll need the motor heatsink. I like the blue, but nothing else is blue, so might have to eventually see if they have like a blacked out one, or whatever color I paint the body, maybe have it match. But they hook you up with one, so. Trash box. Oh, first one missed. Looks like that bad boy. Make sure when you install the heatsink it doesn't hit the shaft. Okay, that's one of the big things it looks like they mention. Before I do that, we're also going to need D3. That guy right there. Again, shave those nubs down. Looks good. Oh, a little bit on this one. And we're gonna need 2 B2s. Bingo again. That's A. B2, B2. So you're gonna need 2 of those. Looks like one on each tree. They're not on the same tree, so I have the other B2. And it looks like they sit right in here. You can see the 2 holes in the chassis. One there. Slides in. And it does slide in a particular way. It'll actually, you want it facing towards the rear of the vehicle, as shown in the directions, and this one facing towards the front of the vehicle. Kind of like that. See them. So. Sorry guys, I'm using my phone to make sure it gets everything that it can. Now we're going to throw this heatsink on. Again, just make sure it's not coming in contact with that shaft. And where I put my screws is the side of the motor, so let's see. It slides right in. Alright, now this is where you can kind of look also at where your pinion gear, where they meet. Now see, mine's a little further back this way, away from it. So I kind of want it to move out a little bit, and I want them to be, again, I'm not a pro, but in my opinion, I want them to be, you know, like this. I don't want one to be sticking out like that. I believe that's how I've done my other vehicles. If I'm wrong, please, someone in the comments, mention that that doesn't matter as much. But when those teeth connect, you know, you want them to be like this, not this way, or if that makes sense, when they're, what you kind of see how this one's a little further back. There's some space there. So I'm going to loosen it a little. I would definitely recommend some Loctite on that once I set her up. Yeah, much better. You see that difference? See how they're lined up? A little bit straighter. That aluminum pinion gear is like dead center of that. I believe it's called the spur gear. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. But now that that's connected, this bad boy is going to go right on top. And it also goes over your gears, as you can see. Bam. Locks everything in place, keeps everything clean. I know a lot of guys, not a lot, but guys that I've seen on YouTube that have upgraded their spur pinion gears, they no longer fit on there. So for keeping it stock purposes, we're going to throw it on. And it looks like now we can start running some of these screws down. Again, remember why these are so hard, because you're creating the threads in that plastic where these screws are going into. So in the future, if you got to work on it, clean it, do any maintenance or hop-ups, upgrading, whatever, you know, they won't be as hard to get them out and put them back in. So just remember to be ginger. It's only plastic. It strips super easy. Even if the screw doesn't strip, the plastic may. And since it's part of the chassis, if it does strip, you know, you could try going up a screw size. Like these are the 3 by 10 millimeter. You can go with, if they have a 4, you know, but then you're getting into a lot of headache. And if that part is ruined, you know, that's part of the chassis. You'd have to replace the whole chassis, pretty much do the build all over again. Now this front one seems a little tight. So just take your time. Make sure you screw it straight in. The first one's going to be the most important. See how tight that is already? I'll leave that one for last. of these are so small. See, there we go. Now this one may not go in here. Looking on the instructions, it just says 4, so this center one maybe comes along later. I'm gonna take her out and wait. That may be needed for something else. See. Alright, that takes a lot of play out of that too. When I was mentioning earlier, the shaft and the spur, you know, they had play. Now you can see it's just the shaft moving. It still moves front to back quite a bit, and I'm assuming, you know, it has to have some play. Now you can actually see the motor in there spinning. Alright, now that we hook those 4 screws up, 1, 2, 3, 4. Gonna go to the bottom and put the screws in those posts. This one here, this one, and then also 2 hold the motor in. And I know I mentioned this in my first video. I do think I'm going to go with a brushless motor eventually. First I want to just run this and have some fun, but I don't know about getting it up there 80, 100 miles an hour, but you know, maybe 40, 30 would be cool. I believe stock they go about 20 using a 2S battery from what I've seen. I have seen people use 3S. I don't know. I'm sure that's on a brushless motor. I don't know if this one can handle that. But if I can get a censored brushless or a sensorless brushless, maybe even. I know they recommend a censored. And keep it on 2S. Keep it on 2S, but get it up to 40. I think that'd be perfect. For drifting purposes, I'm going to say slower. If you do plan on drifting, would be better. Just be careful tightening these ones because they seem like they're already have the threads in those posts, so you probably by hand is good enough. And then the 2 screws for the motor, you can see they go right back here, 1 and 2. Again, they already have threads, so you really definitely don't need to use a drill. If you are, just make sure they're straight. Alright, the one went in a little bit further, but they're both, you can't see them from the bottom there. So this one went in a little bit further. I'm not going to mess with it. It seems solid. Seems tight. I'm going to move this heat sink over, about to there. You can move it closer to the side if you want. I'm going to kind of, but just make sure it's not hitting that shaft. If it hits that shaft, it's going to be tough. And it will, see, it will go over and lock that shaft up. Or if you try to drive it, it'll rip it apart. So just make sure you give it some room. No need for it to be all the way like that. I mean, this thing moves quite easy. You might want to put a piece of double-sided tape on it. I don't know, if the motor gets hot, that's probably not going to work. Maybe a little dab of something right here to stop it from moving towards the shaft. We'll have to see after we run her. I'm just going to leave it. Right like that. And then, see there? That hole in the motor, I'm leaving that exposed just to let air out. Alright, that's all connected. Next, we're going to attach the rear lower arms, B1. Back to bingo, B1. Is that this guy here? Yep. So one on each tree again. They're on the ends, same as the B17s were. Man, these end ones do not want to come apart. There we go. Move those tabs. So, two B1s. and an A9, which is this guy here. Looks like you're gonna need two more of those MA2 screws. And just pay attention to the direction. Now, the vehicles, they show it upside down. Looks like you can see that this part goes right on like that. Sits right there. See that? And you can see the screw holes in the front there line up with the holes that are already on there. So we know that's correct because the screw holes line up. And it looks like just one screw goes on the top, not two. Not straight forward, it goes, which would be the bottom of the vehicle. If I am seeing that correctly. Jeez. It's actually a really tight fit, so just take your time putting this piece on. Piece is on. You got right here, just one screw in the bottom, which I'm kind of surprised, but yeah, I guess that's how they have it. Oh, rookie mistake. Kind of good because we made the threads in that plastic, but you actually have to add the arms first. And just watch the direction. Not sure that it matters. They look the same, but it may. Yeah, you have to add these first. Put some grease on them. Make sure to grease them up good. And like I said, I don't think it matters. I'm incorrect. It does matter. You have this here is longer than this down here. So I don't know. I believe the longer is going towards the vehicle. I know they have different versions of this, a short and a long. I'm doing the short and the standard. I'm doing the standard. I would think that longer piece goes outward, but no. Apparently it does not. So just watch that, because they actually will not link up with the arms. If you notice the upper arms, so just make sure they link up together. And unless you're doing the short version, that longer piece of that lower arm goes towards the car. You'll see I put this screw in, took it back out. Much easier now that those threads are made. Nice and solid. Alright. Lower arms are on. And they line up. As you'll notice, see those two arms? See the way they line up? If I would have flipped it, it would be off. Now we're attaching the rear bumper. That's when you need these longer screws, these 15 millimeters, 2 of them, and 2 of the flatheads. And looks like we need B8. Which is this guy here. vehicle's still upside down. As you can see, this is the rear of the vehicle. It just is going to lay right where we put that screw. That's going to be right in the center of this. Just like that. Those two long screws go in here, and those two flatheads go right in here. 1, 2. So for any of you guys, girls, that have built kits, worked on cars a while, what do you guys think of these regular Phillips screw builds? Did you guys switch them out with Allen screws, or I know they can strip out real easy. I mean, so can the Allen heads, honestly, but they seem a little easier to work with. But let me know in the comments what you guys think, or if anybody did switch them out already, or alright, that's set and tight. Now, B14, the lower arms. I know this video is getting a little longer. Wanted to keep them a little shorter, but at least get these arms all done. Alright, B14 right here. And there's one on each tree again. And you'll also need 2 of those P7s, those little balls that we used on the front lower arms. You'll need them for these also. And again, watch the direction, because I'm sure if you put them in certain ways, they will line up, and other ways they will not. So that goes towards the front of the vehicle. And if you're doing the short version, that would go towards the front of the vehicle. But for this regular standard, the angled side goes towards the vehicle. And we need A9 also. Which is right here. Babe, if you don't mind. Whoa. Sorry about that, folks. Alright, so we got the P14s, we got the A9. And we need one of those MA2 to 10mm screws. And if I can find them again, those P7 balls. Should be 2 left. Yep. These guys here. Alright, now don't forget to grease these up. Using a little extra ain't gonna kill you. And you can always wipe it off. Which in my opinion is better than not using enough. And then having to take this all apart. Not that you want to go crazy with it, but you know, put enough on there that's greased up nicely. Make sure the screw is straight because that part fits tight, this part here. So just make sure that screw is straight when you first do this. Oh, and be careful not to strip it. See, I, believe it or not, actually do better with a drill just on a very low torque setting. Because I'm so used to using them. Just afraid that the plastic's going to crack, so that's why I don't recommend them the same way other people don't recommend them, other guys. So use at your own risk. I've said it a bunch. Pop these in. Here they pop in place, just like those upper front arms. The lower front arms, pop those in place too. Now the front bumper. Those other two 15mm screws, we're going to use those now. And two 10mm flatheads. And B8. Which is this guy right here. On the second park tree, we took the other one for the rear. And flip the car upside down. Guy's going to go right over, same way the rear one was. Those two flatheads on the bottom. And then those two long ones go right here in the front. Now this screwdriver I'm using may be too small. It's a little difficult to work with, especially with the small screws and everything, but I'm so used to using it that it works for me. A ratchet screwdriver would probably be awesome, but any screwdriver you got you're comfortable with, those tools are always the best. Alright, she's solid. Maybe time to wipe a little bit of this extra grease off. any of that grease that's seeping out, you know, is good to wipe off. It's obviously not gonna do much except get the car all greasy for the parts. And whatever grease was supposed to be inside of there when we screwed it together and tightened it all up should for the most part stay in there. You may at a further date have to re-grease those, or if you take it apart, obviously that grease is not going to last forever because it's not a sealed joint. I don't know if there's anything on the market better than this grease that they give you also. It's something you may want to check out. I might have to look into. But for now, it's going to work fine. That's good enough. I went back to the upper arms, did the lower, upper, all of them. Got all that excess grease off just so it doesn't get everywhere. Alright, front bumper, rear bumpers, all the front, upper and lower arms are done. That'll be the end of this video. Went a little bit longer. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. I'm hoping to do some more videos. Maybe I'm not a big camera guy. I just hope this helps some people. I'm not worried about the likes. I mean, you could dislike it if you want. That's cool. It's appreciated, you guys taking your time out of your life watching, and I hope this helps some people. Not just putting together a Tamiya TT02D or a regular TT02, but any of your other vehicles that you build. Some of this stuff may be able to help you out with the arms and how they go together, or the differentials. You know, some of the later stuff we get into with the hub carriers, those cups. I know when I did my Volcano, a couple of those broke, and I looked at some videos that weren't even Volcano, so they don't hook up the same, but they're the same concept. You can see what they do, you know, maybe find some stronger ones. So I hope this helps some people out there. Stay tuned for part 4.